Thank you very much for joining us here today for this webinar. We're proud to present today some information about power trading in Spain. My name is Ted-Ann Olsen, and I am the head of Genscape's European Gas and Power Products based in Amsterdam. For today's webinar, we're pleased to have Dr. Marcus Hummel with us from Oxford Energy in Vienna. Dr. Hummel did his MBA studies with the University of Oxford on the deregulation of the European electricity industry. Marcus has over 20 years of energy sector experience specializing in the energy finance sector and has worked with a number of large energy companies and regulatory agencies. So without any other explanations, I'll go ahead and let Marcus talk to you about his agenda for today.
Yes, hello everybody to the webinar from quite sunny Vienna, and I plunge straight into the agenda. First, there is a brief overview what exactly Genscape is doing and what are the specific products. Then we go straight into power trading activity in Spain, and we first look at specific drivers of power trading before we then move on to the current status of the power trading regime in Spain. Then we move on to the analysis of the current Genscape power trading product suite with the particular example Spain, and we will show some real-time examples. And besides the online product examples, we will also show additional products, daily and weekly products. And then we will briefly talk about planned future development and expansion in the European Union. At the end, we will be open for questions from your side. As a brief indicator, on your panel you can type in questions which will then pop up for us, and we'll then take them. Some of them we can maybe take during the presentation where they fit, and others will then answer at the end of the presentation. So first a bit on the background of Genscape. It is an originator of real-time power generation information, and there are thousands of monitoring units, plant monitoring and power line monitoring units across a number of European countries, other countries all over the world as well, but when we focus on Europe, across around 12 European countries. And this is a 24/7 service, and we can see, for example, currently more than 50% of total capacity is covered by this real-time information. Some statistics, full nuclear coverage has already been reached, and more than 2/3 of coal and lignite capacity coverage. And this all refers to the flagship product Power RT. How can Genscape do that? This is done by electromagnetic field detection, and those devices are wireless devices, solar power devices. You see one on the right top, and they kind of can report, can monitor the electromagnetic fields, and from this can be deducted the amount of power coming directly from those power plants or in those transmission lines. And we see an example in the middle. We see a graph here. For example, a given generator failed on March 10th, as we see in the statistic. There is a rapid decline in power output. Then it goes from around 1800 megawatts to 800 megawatts. Then it's for some weeks at this reduced level, and is coming back on April 14th here, ramping back up. And the normal plant operation is then from April 14th onwards. Besides this electromagnetic field detection, there are also infrared detection devices on some consumption hotspots, and they complement this detection products that Genscape has been and is in the process of additional installing all over the world, so to say. From this brief introduction from Genscape, we look into power trading activity in Spain. And this is an overview slide where we see a few crucial drivers for power trading activity in Spain. One is certainly the enormous take-up of renewable energy sources, particularly wind power. We have had an installed capacity of wind power at the end of 2012 of nearly 23,000 megawatts. And with, again, a strong increase compared to the year before. And this is particularly relevant to say when we compare with the other country with tremendous usage of renewables, namely Germany. And we see, while with solar energy, Germany is still very much in front of all other European Union EU countries in total capacity, by total capacity numbers. But regarding wind power, Germany and Spain are quite head-to-head, and that means that because obviously Spain is a smaller consumer of electricity, that means that Spain has a larger percentage of wind power, and this will be shown a little bit later on what effect this strong take-up of renewables has on daily market operation. Because such a big take-up of renewables has taken place, the TSO of Spain, Red Electrica, had to come up with some solutions to specific challenges. And for example, Red Electrica has established the world's first renewable energy power control center, CECRE, and this is responsible for scheduling and controlling national renewable energy generation. So there is a specific dedicated center doing just that. But not only on the supply side, the TSO is working hard to make ends meet. Also on the demand side, there are some demand side measures of Red Electrica, for example, interruptible service, smart metering, time of use tariffs. All are done to have better load shifting and balancing for renewables generation. And last but not least, the regulatory regime also had to come up with some answers to the challenges in the Spanish power trading. And obviously the big goal is to have functioning markets with a high amount of liquidity and to have short-term markets. Particularly when one thinks regarding renewables, short-term markets are crucial because renewables, particularly wind and solar, are highly dependent on weather, and weather forecast with current international weather prognostics, 4-hour forecast is very accurate already with current computer power development, and a day-ahead forecast is still so relevant and reliable, and therefore those few hours that can be gone forward by having more efficient for a more efficient picture of the supply available makes actually a big difference, meaning intraday markets are crucial in this regard. And one can also see of the functioning, an example for the functioning regulatory regime and functioning TSO regime in Spain. We have here a comparison with a few countries with a high amount of wind energy, and we see that losses due to curtailment of wind energy, meaning when they had to switch off some wind power is very small in Spain, so it's a very efficient management, even as wind power has, relatively speaking, an extremely high share in Spain. And it compares even well with Germany, for example, and all the more well with Italy. Okay, what I've just explained, this strong take-up of renewables, we will give an example. This is a particular day at April 7th, for example, around in the afternoon, around 5 p.m. And the interesting thing here is the following. We see in this graph that most of the power production at this point in time came from renewables, meaning wind. It's a Spanish slide here, so it's eolica and water, hydraulica, and the rest of the special regime, which is mostly solar plants. And you see those two greens and this blue portion making up most of the production, and the only fossil nuclear fuel is nuclear energy, providing around 20%, and coal and gas are squeezed to the margins with around 3% each. And this is a picture which is which shows the strong take-up of renewables again. When we now move to current power trading in Spain, we can see that around 2/3 of national demand is currently done via power exchanges. This is obviously a hot topic both in the US and all over Europe regarding reducing OTC trading because of specific risks that are supposedly coming to being because of less regulatory oversight of OTC trading, and so Spain is marching ahead quite fast. The Iberian market, Nibel, holds a top position in this regard. Obviously, beside a high volume which creates liquidity, another criterion of a functioning market is supplier switching. It's a game that all European energy regulators play. They compare the numbers of companies and private customers switching suppliers, and again this shows that Spain is the only market, together with the northern European markets, UK, Ireland, Norway, that have higher switching rate of over 10% of power volumes taken off each year. And again, this is an example for the quite well-developed trading. And then we come to the Spanish intraday market, and it's, as explained before, it's an important mechanism for ensuring both a supply and demand balance and also liquidity. One first indicator is the huge number of participants in these markets. The Spanish power exchange OMI, which is the Spanish spot market, also covering the Spanish intraday market, has over 1,300 agents. Other power exchanges have only a few hundred participants in the market. So this is one important measure. Another important measure is the volume traded in OMI in 2011, 2010, there were already over 40 terawatt hours traded in this market. Okay, there are special mechanisms bringing more power to the Spanish intraday market. That is clear, but still the difference is so high to other markets which only have a few terawatt hours or not even 1 terawatt hours traded in the intraday market, that it is quite a marked difference. And how is this intraday market working? The it's a non-continuous intraday market in Spain. The TSO operates 6 consecutive intraday clearing auctions, and that allow for a full rescheduling of power plants and optimization of the systems. And the Spanish operators claim that as all interactions are focused on these 6 intraday auctions, they exhibit more liquidity than observed in other European markets with continuous intraday trading. Examples are Germany and France. Obviously, this is a hot discussion, and there is no clear answer which is the better market regime, so to say. Spain makes a good case, backed by numbers of its claim that it has a very efficient intraday market. For all participants who want to dive much deeper into this topic, I can recommend a nice paper by Arthur Henriot. It's called Market Design with Centralized Wind Power Management, Handling Low Predictability in Intraday Markets. And this discusses very nicely the pros and cons of the different intraday trading regimes.
So Marcus, would you have a moment for a question?
Yes, please, yeah.
Okay, we have a couple of questions already. The first question is, what happens when renewables exceed consumption or demand?
Yeah, I mean, basically what we have here, as we showed before, in the most inefficient case, some renewables have to be switched off, which happens rarely in Spain. And what is normally the case in those intraday auctions, the volumes are summed up, and then all the volumes that do not find any off-taker are then put in place for the next intraday auction. This is also one of the reasons why there is a lot of volume in the intraday auction, and why there is a lot of liquidity there. And this is one of the points made by the Spanish regime, why it's an efficient market, covering and being able to cover most of the renewable plants. One other answer is that, which we can see later in the live product itself, that obviously there are different levels of activity on those renewable plants, and we can see that the amount of volume produced at this given point in time.
Great, and one more quick question. On slide 8, you talk about a special regime. What are the rest of the special regimes that you're talking about here?
The special regime, this is a specific measure of, it's decreed by Spanish law that you have specific renewable and some cogeneration plants which have a specific financial support regime. They fall under this regime, and while it's mostly solar power covered by this regime, it's not only solar power, and in many statistics those plants are shown together, lumped together, so to say.
Great, thanks. Also, just for the audience, they're interested in more information about the paper, and to make things a little bit easier, we'll go ahead and send the name of that paper to the entire audience, if that's all right. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, we'll have a brief look now in the product sphere, so to say, the product sphere, and there is a few highlights we want to point to here. First, as said, there is a comprehensive traditional fuel coverage in the power real-time product, and we see that we can then nicely see the regional distribution of this nuclear production. Besides the traditional fuel coverage, there is also comprehensive renewables coverage. We'll look at the example of wind power coverage. We have also the strategic transmission points coverage. Here we will, the interconnector lines, so to say. Here we will look at the example of interconnectors between France and Spain. And last but not least, this is a live product, and the product is alive, so to say, so it's growing and it's developing. And for example, in only in 2012, many new plants have been added only in Spain with a capacity of over 6 gigawatts. So from this overview, we look to some specific example. Nuclear power, again, a specific point in time, April 20th here. A bit over 8,000 megawatts in total nuclear power in Spain, and at this point in time, according to different statistics, just over 6,000 megawatts were producing. There are always good numbers by Red Electrica, but obviously Red Electrica lumps the numbers by energy source together. Genscape divides it out on a plant level. But we can see the numbers are very similar, so it's a good comparisons are possible here. And as just said, we can see the regional differences with Genscape, and we see which I will show you in a sec. We can see that some plants work at half capacity, one plant is practically down, in this case Santa Maria de Garona, and other plants are working close to capacity, Trillo, Cofrentes and Almares in this regard. And I will move to have a look at the product now. You can see now the screens of PowerRT. I have preset it for the Iberian Peninsula, Spain in particular, and we can see 4 windows here. One of them is a big map of Spain, so to say, with a number of items. We can also see on the bottom left a summary view where we see different types of energy sources, and we see the capacity covered by Genscape in the 3rd column and the current output. And we can nicely, for example, see here that nuclear, this little tower in yellow, so the current output is a little bit over 5,000 megawatts, so a little bit less than shown on this example on April 20th, for example. And so the first thing which is maybe interesting in this regard, we show, we put a little weather layer over the area. And so we can see the different temperatures. To make it useful, we can pull up the temperature key. And you see here, quite important for renewable energy production, the different temperatures in different areas in Spain, and also plant distributions in those different areas. So before we dive straight into those plants, I want also to briefly look at the legend here in order for you to understand fully the coverage. You see on the left column, you see the various types of fuels, coal, lignite, natural gas, and the number of renewable fuels and nuclear. You see also on the top right, you see always how it is shown, always the fuel type, the plant name, and the percent of net capacity currently. So when we, for example, go to this Almares nuclear plant, you see now the name, and you see the symbol gets bigger, and you see the current operation mode. A green color means over 75% operation, yellow is 25 to 75, and red is less than 25. Also interesting, you see those circles. There are plant alerts and plant updates. As this is a real-time product, there are significant output changes reported. There are updated data of a plant is reported. There are a number of possibilities that to set alerts here. And last but not least, you have the errors of the strategic transmission points, and you see the direction of the error indicates the direction of the power flow in this regard. So when we make a look now, for example, at our nuclear example from before, we see here Santa Maria de Garona. When we click on one plant, what I just did on the map, we see in the quick chart generation the same plant, and we can get further information by clicking it again, and we then have we can see then different types of views, from a day view to a year view. Currently we have a week view here. For example, when we look at the 6-month view here, we see that just in December 2013 it went nearly offline, and so we can set different types of looks here. We can also look on the right hand side, we can look at the alert history, when it rose above or dropped below a specific megawatt number, some hurdle numbers. We can look at plant info, name, fuels, fuel type, place and capacity, for example. And we have some info on the unit. We see how many units we have and what type of fuel we have. So this was one example for a plant coverage, and you see those other two little here. Those other two nuclear plants here working around half capacity, a little bit more than half capacity. Those are working nearly full capacity. Cofrentes and Almaraz, and Trillo is nearly off. Is off at the moment. We can also have a look at the alert section here on the top left. And this is an extra information service where you see for specific plants when output fell below or rose above a specific level. And as said, it's quite crucial. What does this bring to a power trader? Clearly, there is an immediate information available. It's first mover advantage is possible. It makes the market much more transparent to actually look at the map and to see the country and not to have a lump sum number for specific types of energy. And obviously, this can lead to better optimization of positions in this regard. But I don't want to show you only nuclear plants, as we have other scenarios as well. When we look, for example, at wind power, currently we have an output here of around 27% of the Genscape covered plants. Obviously, there are more wind power parks in Spain. When we compare Israeli Electrica data, normally the percentage data compares quite nicely. I for example, in April 21st, I had a specific snapshot where it was around 12% usage, and it was quite useful because you had a nice share of total wind power in a regional context, which is possible to analyze. As we see here on the map, we have a few parks working to full capacity, and we have others that are nearly switched off. And also, it's interesting because statistically speaking, there is also statistic data obviously available to set individual bellwether plants, meaning that specific plants have specific meaning for operation of other plants, and obviously this can be developed further and further to have a quite clear picture of also up to operations of specific companies and then moving to company plant park benchmarking. Okay, I will quickly return to the presentation now. And we see here again what I've just been talking about, the wind power plants. This example shows that they're quite similarly covered, the percentage by Red Electrica and by Genscape, and we see the capability of digging deeper into the data and showing specific geographical and regional characteristics. When we have a look now on the strategic transmission point line coverage between France and Spain, we have here a forecast from Red Electrica. It gives minimum and maximum values, for example, in this case for a period from 20th of April to beginning of May, and it says there is between France and Spain there is a minimum maximum of between 900 and 1,300 megawatts, and between Spain and France between 1,000 and 1,100 megawatts. And if we compare this to Genscape Power T coverage, we see that we have all the major interconnections covered real time, all the 220 and 400 kilovolt interconnectors. And when we look further here, we see a table of the information provided. We see the name of the interconnector, the origin and the termination. We see the date and time stamp, and we see the operation, the technical operation limits, and we see at this point in time, it was the beginning of April, we see specific operation with a specific minus sign or no sign, meaning from this we can deduct the direction of the power flow at any given point in time. And we can have another look at the product. And we can see on the map, we can see here between Spain and France the various transmission lines, the arrows. Currently, most of the power is flowing from Spain to France. In the quick chart transmission window in the middle, we see immediately the line I clicked on, and only one line with a power flow from France to Spain. Basically, it's obviously, and many of you will know, there are quite huge price differences in daily trading between Spain and France. Currently, this is the transmission volume would not normally justify to equalize these prices. There is a new big line planned between Santa-Logaya, Girona, Spain, and Baixas in Pyrénées-Orientales in France. And this should nearly double the actual transmission capability between Spain and France. And it will also be an international innovation, as it will be a 65-kilometer cable will also be laid between France and Spain because of environmental concerns and other political discussions. And this will be done with district current because it wouldn't be possible to do otherwise. So this is a quite technically difficult combination, and there are already many critics of this new line saying that it will not alleviate the transmission bottlenecks between France and Spain in a way it should alleviate. Okay, I go again back to the presentation. A little bit of information about a few other products, offline products, so to say, reports. A few examples for daily reports, the Hour 12 reports covering weekdays and the weekend reports covering Saturdays and Sundays. And what do they cover exactly? It shows the current day's fuel type split, compares it with the previous day and the 5-day average. And we see here an example for 1st of May and 2nd of May. And it shows also the last 24 hours of production for every energy source. And those numbers are also shown on the plant level. And as said, it is done for the Hour 12 report for weekdays and for the weekend report for the Saturdays and Sundays. Another product that when you get up in the morning you can immediately see which plants had some changes overnight. There is a overnight update service. So we have here, for example, the nuclear plant Proprietary ramped up to capacity overnight. We are at the moment we are here at around 7 o'clock in the morning, and we see that just before midnight it started to ramp up, and the night before it was going down. So this is an immediate alert service in the morning and explains substantial changes within the last 36 hours for specific markets. When we then look at weekly reports, there is the coal burn report, the weekly coal burn report. Again, the comparison with Red Electrica, we see data for lumped together, and in the Genscape example we see the development also to see the competition with other fuels. In the case of coal, we see the amount in tons burned. Always we see changes over a week, changes over the year. You see the orange graph is the year before, so to say, and the blue line is the current year. We can see it both for coal and lignite separately. And this, as pointed out before, goes further to a plant level. And we can see here the coverage for specific plants and the companies they belong to. You can again see how much coal was burned in specific plants, weekly numbers of the week before, and year to date, and last year, for example. And we see those, obviously we see those volumes dropping quite heavily because of the onslaught of renewables in Spain, so to say. And as we can see from the, maybe also important to mention here, as we can see from this graph, this goes quite some way regarding benchmarking exercises, company plant park benchmarking. We see which plants are active, how much have they produced in a given point in time, and can deduct strategies for specific competitors in this regard. As we also care about emissions, there is also a weekly emissions report. Again, sorry, I put up the same plants here, the same coal and lignite plants here, and we see for the same week, we see the CO2 emissions. And they complement, those two reports complement weekly real-time data. And as said, there are specific customer needs, and obviously Genscape tries to meet them as fully, as flexibly as possible. Now maybe a few slides at the end regarding further expansion. One case in point for 2013 is Austria. A few plants are already online, meaning covered by Genscape monitoring devices. There are a number of additional plants that roll out in various phases, which we can see on the next slide. We have the first wave release in red and the second wave release in green. The rollout plan for Austria for 2013, so to say. And when we look to other European countries, beside the first line, Q1 focus on Iberian renewables, and but dramatically ramping up the Genscape renewable coverage on the Iberian Peninsula. We see in the second quarter the first entities in Slovakia will come online, and we also see some development in Serbia and Croatia for the second half of 2013. And this is obviously again a response to client needs and client feedback, and obviously last but not least also all the existing already covered countries will increase in will show an increase in coverage, and as this is an ongoing process, it will also be in the near future. Okay, I came to the end of this webinar presentation. We have here additional information, additional questions can be put to to Jonathan. There's also a phone number given, or further product details can be seen from info on the web, or you ask straight away basically additional questions.
Thank you, Marcus. I'm wondering if there are any additional questions out there. We do have a few minutes that we could take a few more questions if anyone has anything that has come up during the slide presentation. Okay, we do have a question, Marcus.
Yes.
Someone is asking if we can repeat the name of the dispatching center of REE for the wind, the renewable center that you spoke about.
Yes, we can do that. It is the CECRE is the abbreviation. CECRE.
And we were wondering.
Yeah,
and a follow-up question would be, is there any kind of interconnection going on between the markets close by, so France and Spain and Portugal, for instance, where they're tying their intraday closures together? Is there any movement towards market coupling in the intraday?
There is movement between Spain and Portugal, and there has also been. I mean, I've not focused on this one because we've seen the quite substantial price differences between Spain and France. Obviously, the price differences between Spain and Portugal are much smaller, less, so to say, less. It's not such a highlight report, so to say, yeah. But the coupling, the markets of Portugal and Spain come together in a more efficient way, in a much more efficient way. There is this Nibel market for the Iberian Peninsula, which goes quite some way of having an efficient Iberian Peninsula, at least together, so to say. Yeah. Obviously, we can go into more detail on this, but it would a little bit drive us too much in specific details, so to say. Yeah? We're happy to take this up and go into specific discussions maybe later on.
All right. It looks like we don't have any more questions right now from the audience. Oh, here we go. There's another quick one. Any activity with Morocco?
Yes, I mean there is some important. We saw it first in the slide. There was one slide before. Sorry for. This was the one. Here we have the. No, there is one interconnection covered between Morocco and France. I can show this in the product. Let's see if I manage. Yeah, we can see it. You should be able to see it now. There is a Melusa Estrecho. There is a strategic transmission point here where there is quite some power flowing, 800 megawatts capacity flowing currently to Morocco here. One example of the coverage here, and we see there is quite some flows typically from Spain to Morocco here.
Okay, sounds good. I'm not seeing any other questions coming in, but please feel free to go ahead and use the information at the last of the slide deck. We do take emails here at Genscape, info@genscape.com, and we're able to answer any questions that you might have, or we're more than happy to forward those on to Marcos at the Oxford Energy Group if you're interested. We will be doing a follow-up to this, and we'll get you some information on the paper that Marcos talked about earlier in the presentation. I appreciate very much your time this afternoon, and if you don't mind, when you leave the session, there will be a brief survey, and that allows us to further refine our webinars and give you the maximum amount of information possible in our future endeavors. So please feel free to take the time and fill out that survey. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I hope to talk to you again sometime on another webinar. Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.